And if your rosin's too tacky to mess with, put it in the freezer, get it hard, that way you can put it in the bag. Alright, so the second part of it, get this centered up. Got set 130. Just make sure that both plates meet. I'm not going to smash it because this is still cold. So I'm going to let it heat up. Once it starts heating up, then I'll apply real light pressure onto this. Making Thc-A isolate of a filled diamond run, 1 pound diamond run. It's 4 o'clock. Still letting it heat up. Barely got the plates touching it. 130. Slow and easy. Because like I said, that's still cold. Had it in the freezer so I can handle it, so I can get in the bag. So, just let it heat up. And once it starts heating up, you'll notice, because you'll see little beads of turp sauce. Then you put a little bit more pressure on it. It's 4:11. Been there about 10 minutes. We'll just barely squish it. I just keep on. It's like I said, this was cold. It's not cold now. We just don't want to scoot that bag, because this bag, when you fold it, I fold it in half usually. I know some Thc-A escaping, so I double folded it. Also, I think that being it was so thick, quite a bit of my failed diamond run is being so thick. That's why I've been taking so long, because it's 4:21. I'm just taking it real slow. Means I start out with a cold piece. Means I start out with a real thick piece. If it was real thin, yeah, I'd already been swiping papers, swishing papers. I probably could have jacked it up to 160. Means my piece in there was so thick. I decided to jump from 130 to 150 because I was messing up my shatter was so thick. So I jumped it up from 130 to 150. I'm just barely pressing it. So when you take it out, put it back in, it's cold. So you gotta give it time to heat back up. And this is what I got off first. I'll save this, because if for some reason there's no Thc-A, any white stuff in that bag, then you can reprocess this. I think I did that on the last one that I just shot. But all this is turp sauce here. This is the first one I did. It's all turp sauce. But that don't have any isolate in it. So I'm gonna save this one for sure, and the next ones, because if my bag don't start turning white, then I know I did something wrong, and I can just repeat the process. So 150 to 180, going up 30 degrees. Still just barely hitting the pressure on this one. Barely pushing on it. I'll let this sit for a while. Just keep doing it. Low pressure. Alright, working on my third one. Means I had quite a bit come off the last one. I'm still at 180. I'll move that to 190. That way I can. So I guess I wrote down 130, 160, 190. So let's put it in there. Just a little bit of pressure. You see when I start applying pressure what happens. Let it set. Don't want to rush it. You don't want it squirting like that. That's what I call squirting. Because you'll see, if you look on the edge, fold this down. If you see nice even trail of terp sauce, that's what you want. If you see a little spot where it's squirted, that's, you lost a little bit. That's why you don't want to rush it. It is 5:02. 1 hour in. Now if I had a pressure gauge and all this other stuff, I'd probably do it a lot quicker, obviously. This is the third one at 190. As long as the terp sauce keeps coming off, I think that's, keep that same temperature. And once terp sauce stops coming off, bring the temperature back up to what the internet's been saying, 30 degrees. So I started 160, 190. As long as you're getting this, keep it at the same temperature. Now when pressing this, you can tell when to press it. Just watch it. When it oozes, you start seeing it oozing just a bit, just like that. I'm gonna stop. And just keep on, keep on. Also look at my edges. I fold it down. Make sure it's nice and even. Then I'll change it. Moved it up to 220. I'm gonna take this out in just a little bit. So I get a little bit more in front. But you want to see a straight line like that. You don't want to see it come out. That's what I call squirt. That means you lost a little bit. That'll tell you, ease up on the pressure. Don't push so much. Changed it. So it's all nice and even, nice and even, nice and even. If you see something squirting out, just remember, back off the pressure. And or give it longer to heat up. So I just put this in there. Going up to 220. This will be my last temperature. Let it heat up. Before I put any pressure, I just close it tight. Let it heat back up because it cools off real fast. Just put a little bit of pressure on it. And also, when I'm pressing on it, I like to watch. Once I see that, I stop. Once I see a little bit ooze, I stop. Let it ooze itself out. Once it stops, put a little bit more pressure. Just keep repeating the process until your isolate is as clear or as clean or as white as you want it. I like mine with a little bit of color for flavor. This is a 1 pound run of Skittles that I did. Failed diamond run. Sat in my diamond miner for a week. Saw I wasn't gonna grow anything, so I went ahead and vacuum pumped it for a week. I got tired of waiting on it because once your VHO gas sits for a week or whatever, it ain't gonna flap up to making shatter. Snap and pull if you're lucky. And all my papers, when I make my isolate, isolate, I save them because you're not gonna get them all clean. So on my next diamond run that I make, or that I do, attempt to do, I'm gonna add this to the very top. I'm gonna load my tube, 1 pound de-waxing column, full of weed, and grind the weed up, dump it in there, and then at the very top, I'll put this in there. That way when the VHO gas comes out, it's gonna hit that first. And it'll clean all this good stuff that was gonna be wasted, and I'll just recover it. That's what I'm talking about, squirt. Just let her ooze out. At this temperature, 220, yeah, it's gonna be coming out fast. You can almost pull down on the paper itself, get more to ooze out. That's how hot this is. Started as 4, is nice and even. Both sides. Yeah, that's my cigarette. Had it double folded, I unfolded it. Okay, since I've had this nug smasher, it's always had a spot. Do I have a dent in my heating plates somewhere? Because ever since I've had it for a couple years now. I don't use it very much. But I always got that one spot that will not clean up. It's just that, it's just the way it works. If anybody knows, we'll let this cool down. It's Thc-A isolate. It's real thin, so it's going to be a powder-like. So I have little flakes everywhere, so I'll just probably turn this into Thc-A isolate shatter by heating this up and getting it into a glass solid form instead of little teeny tiny pieces of white Thc isolate. Not gonna get any cleaner. I get it all pure white if I wanted to, but I like flavor in mine, so I'm gonna leave it as is. Let it cool down, and I'll trim off the edges, open it up, and make some more. And this is what I made out of the last one. See how thin it is? So that's why I usually put this, heat this up 220, let it dissolve into a shatter. That way you don't have all this little crumbs to deal with. And I'll clean this up, stick it in my jar. Next diamond run, that's going on top. Anyway, it is 6:30 p.m. Started this at 4 p.m. Anyway, make a Thc-A isolate. Give me a like and please subscribe. Okay, after I melted my isolate down, because there's a lot of little pieces, a lot of real small pieces. So I melted down at probably 220. There's some isolate still left, turp sauce. I could have made this clear, but if you lose a piece of this, you'll be able to see it, but if it's clear, it's harder to see. Plus, I like flavor in mine. But I'll break this up as glass. I'll put it in a container, and I'll weigh this and see what I got.